Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. And I have to say, sitting here, looking at the news feeds, it feels like the noise floor of the internet just keeps rising.
It's deafening, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, we've got agentic AI flooding every channel, we're drowning in content, and everyone is talking about this age of abundance. It feels like we are living through a fire hose of information. But today, we're doing something different. We're pumping the brakes on the hype train. We're going to look at the engine room.
Which is so necessary, because while the tools have changed, I mean, dramatically, right? We have better AI, faster code, autonomous agents, the physics of business.
Yeah.
Those haven't budged. If anything, the gravity is heavier now than it was 5 years ago.
That is the core theme of the deep dive today. We are unpacking a fascinating piece from Paramendra Bhagat over at Netizen. It's titled, Marketing is Escape Velocity: How Great Companies Break Free from Gravity. And let's be honest, when I first saw the headline, I thought, okay, another marketing fluff piece.
Make it pop, right? Add some sizzle, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But this isn't that. This is effectively a physics paper disguised as a business article.
Yeah.
It completely, and I mean completely, reframed how I view the relationship between product and growth.
Yeah.
It's not about promotion. It's about propulsion.
It's a crucial distinction, and it's one I think most founders miss. Bhagat is arguing that for most companies, startups, creators, even mid-sized firms, the sensation they feel isn't failure.
Right.
It's orbiting.
Orbiting. Let's unpack that immediately because it's such a sticky image, it just clicks.
Think about it. You're working hard, incredibly hard. You're burning cash, you're shipping features, pushing code every week. You are moving.
You feel busy, you feel productive.
Totally, but you're just going in circles. You never actually break away from the pull of the planet. Today is about how you generate the thrust to actually leave the atmosphere.
So let's start with the physics.
Yeah.
Because the metaphor isn't just window dressing here. It's the structural argument of the whole piece. What is escape velocity in a literal scientific sense?
Okay, so strictly speaking, in a physics, escape velocity is the precise speed an object needs to reach to break free from a massive body's gravitational pull without needing any more propulsion.
Right, like a cannonball.
Exactly. Once you hit that speed, you coast. For Earth, that magic number is 11.2 kilometers per second.
That's just insanely fast.
It is incredibly fast. But the nuance, and this is what matters for business, is that it is a binary threshold. It's a pass-fail.
There's no almost.
There is no almost. If you go 11.1 kilometers per second, you do not escape. You might go very, very high. You might stay up there for a long time looking like you've made it. But eventually, inevitably, gravity wins. You fall back.
And Kagat's argument is that most companies are flying at 11.1 kilometers per second. They're in that almost zone.
Precisely. They are burning fuel constantly just to fight the drag. They never hit that point where the drag disappears and momentum takes over. They are structurally stuck in the atmosphere, and they mistake the altitude for escape.
Okay, so before we get into the solution, the engines he talks about, we need to define the problem. We have to really feel the weight of this gravity. What constitutes business gravity? Because in the article, he lists a few forces, and they aren't just bad luck.
No, not at all. They are structural. They are the laws of the market. And the heaviest element, the one that forms the core of the planet pulling you down, is what he calls customer indifference.
Indifference, not hate, not dislike, just they don't care. That hits hard.
It sounds harsh, but think about the context of 2026. We mentioned the age of abundance. There is an infinite amount of software, an infinite amount of content, of services, of everything.
You can't keep up.
You can't. So the default state of any customer is not curiosity. It is ignore. They have to.
Because they have to. To survive the noise, they have to filter almost everything out.
Right.
If I paid attention to every new AI tool that launched this week, I wouldn't get any work done. I'd just be signing up for free trials all day.
Exactly. So you're a new widget, your new app, your new service. The market's gravitational pull is essentially saying, I do not care. And overcoming that inertia requires a massive, massive amount of energy.
And that's just the first force. What are the others?
Well, they all feed on each other. You have slow revenue growth, which feels like you're trying to run through mud. You have cash flow constraints. The fuel tank is always hovering near empty.
Investor skepticism.
Huge one. They can sense the lack of momentum. They feel the gravity, too. Then there's product stagnation because you're so busy fighting fires you can't innovate. And, of course, just the sheer competitive noise. Everyone else is shouting, too.
So all these forces are pulling you down, and this leads to that critical distinction between growth and escape. I think this is where a lot of founders get tricked. You could be growing and still be trapped, right?
This is the orbit trap. It's so seductive. You can grow 10% year over year. You're high-fiving in the boardroom. You're hitting your numbers.
Your charts are going up and to the right.
Exactly. But if you are burning huge amounts of capital to get that 10%, or if the market itself is growing at 15% and you're actually losing market share, you are just orbiting. You are fighting drag every single day to maintain that altitude.
So what does escape actually look like? If we look at the companies that made it, the Googles, the Teslas, even more recent ones like the big AI labs, what characterizes that state? What are the symptoms of being free from gravity?
The symptoms change completely. It's a state change. First, you achieve category leadership. You become the default. But the big one is that you develop what he calls brand gravity.
Brand gravity. So you're pulling them in now.
Yes. Instead of you pushing messages out, chasing customers, they are being pulled toward you. They seek you out. Then you get ecosystem lock-in, network effects kick in. But maybe the biggest sign is that competitors can't just outmarket you anymore.
Right. If I start a search engine today, I can't just buy more ads than Google and win. It's
Yeah.
impossible. They have escaped.
Oh.
They are in a different weight class, a different orbit.
Their scale has become a structural advantage. The drag has effectively disappeared for them. They are moving in a vacuum now. It's just a different set of physics problems for them.
It's like the difference between a plane flying in the atmosphere, which has to constantly burn fuel to fight drag and create lift,
Versus a rocket that has left the atmosphere. Once it's out there, it just goes. The hard part was getting out.
Okay, so the billion-dollar question, maybe the trillion-dollar question in 2026, is how do we build the engine to get there? Fagat breaks this down into 3 engines of marketing. And I want to pause here because usually when people talk about marketing engines, they mean SEO or paid ads or influencer campaigns.
Tactics.
Right.
These are different.
Very different. Those are tactics, they're components of the engine, maybe. But Fagat is talking about strategic propulsion, the core systems. He identifies 3 distinct engines: revenue, fundraising, and intelligence. Let's start with engine number 1, revenue. Now, playing devil's advocate here, framing revenue as a marketing engine seems a little circular. Marketing brings customers, customers bring revenue. Why does he call it a layer of lift?
Because revenue is proof. Think about the psychological gravity of a startup. You're selling a story. You're selling a vision. You're saying, we think the world works like this, or we believe people want this.
It's a hypothesis.
It's a total hypothesis. Revenue transforms that narrative into a hard fact. It says, the world does work like this, and here are the receipts. It's the ultimate form of validation. It quiets the skeptics, both internal and external.
It's about predictability.
Right.
The source mentions CAC, customer acquisition cost, and LTV, lifetime value. That's where he gets mechanical.
This is the mechanic. This is where you go from art to science. When revenue becomes predictable, you aren't flying blind anymore. You know that if you put $1 of fuel into the engine, say $1 on ads, you get $3 of thrust out in lifetime value.
That visibility changes everything.
Everything. It allows you to throttle up.
Right. If you don't know your unit economics, you can't punch the gas because you might just be accelerating your own bankruptcy. You could be spending $2 to make 1.
Exactly. You're just burning fuel faster without gaining altitude. It's a death spiral. But when the revenue engine is calibrated, when you know your CAC and LTV, it gives you the confidence to spend. It proves to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that gravity is weakening.
Which segues perfectly into engine number 2, fundraising. The source calls this fuel injection. Now, I'm generally cynical about fundraising. I often see it as a vanity metric. Oh, we raised a Series B, we're successful. But Fagat frames it very differently here.
He frames it as a function of velocity, and the distinction is crucial. Look, there's a vibe shift that happens in fundraising, and anyone who's done it knows this. When you are orbiting, when you are struggling against gravity with unpredictable revenue, fundraising is an act of desperation. It's please give us cash so we don't die.
Right. The pitch is extend our runway. You're buying time.
You're buying time. But when you have engine 1 firing, when you have that predictable revenue-proof fundraising becomes fuel injection. You walk into the investor meeting with a different posture. You say, we are not raising to survive. We are raising to accelerate.
You're selling the trajectory, not the dream.
Exactly. And investors love a trajectory. They want to be on the rocket that is already visibly leaving the atmosphere. This is where you get what he calls timeline compression.
Timeline compression, what does he mean by that?
If you raise $50 million because your marketing engine is working, you can make hires today that you had on your roadmap for 2028. You can enter a market this quarter that you thought was years away. You are literally buying time. You are compressing your 5-year plan into 18 months.
So money is the fuel, but marketing is the thrust direction. I like that analogy from the piece.
That's the perfect way to put it. If you have a tank full of rocket fuel, that's the capital, but no marketing engine, you just have a very expensive explosion waiting to happen. You'll burn it on things that don't produce thrust. Marketing directs that capital into customer acquisition, into brand equity, into things that actually increase your velocity.
Okay, let's move to engine number 3. I think this is the most insightful one for the 2026 context we're in. Marketing as intelligence. The radar system.
This is my favorite because, bad companies think marketing is just shouting, it's a megaphone, buy this, look at me, we're the best.
Yeah, broadcasting.
It's just broadcasting. Good companies understand that marketing is primarily a listening device. It's a radar system constantly pinging the market and analyzing the signals that come back.
How does that work practically? We have agents, we have CRMs like Salesforce, growth stacks like HubSpot. What are we listening for?
You are listening for friction and opportunity. You're looking for the anomalies in the data. Let's make this really concrete. Imagine you're a SaaS company selling project management software for creative agencies. That's your wedge, your starting point.
Okay, very focused.
Very focused. But your marketing data, your radar, starts pinging. You notice a weird anomaly in your HubSpot. A significant chunk of your inbound leads, the people filling out the demo form, they aren't from ad agencies. They're from construction firms.
Okay, and the standard 2020 playbook says, bad leads, disqualify them, filter them out. They don't fit the persona.
Exactly. Our ICP, ideal customer profile, is creatives in Brooklyn. You know the drill. But the intelligence engine says, wait a second, hang on. Why are construction firms trying to buy our software? What is broken in their world that makes them search for a tool built for a completely different industry?
And if you pull on that thread,
You might find a massive adjacency. You might find that construction project management software is terrible, it's all legacy, and your visual, user-friendly tool is the perfect fix. By listening to the demand, you find the path of least resistance. That is how you escape gravity, by going where the market is pulling you, not just where you stubbornly wanted to go on day one.
so marketing isn't just about finding customers for your product. It's about letting the market find new products for you to build.
100%. It's about detecting unmet needs, spotting dissatisfaction before a customer churns, identifying how much people are willing to pay, uncovering use cases the founders never even dreamed of. It's a real-time map of the market's desires.
This concept of listening leads us directly into what I think is the most strategic section of the deep dive, adjacency. The source calls this the second stage rocket.
Yes. If the first stage is your core product getting you off the ground, adjacency is what provides the massive burn to get you from low orbit to escape trajectory.
We have to talk about the classic example, even though it feels like everyone knows it. We have to break it down. Amazon.
The bookstore. It's the genesis story of this entire strategy.
It's hard to remember now, in 2026, when they're into everything from groceries to spaceships, but they started just selling paperbacks. Why? Was Jeff Bezos just a huge book nerd?
No. I mean, maybe he was, but that's not why he chose books. He was a physics of business nerd. He picked books for very specific physical and market properties.
Is a wedge.
It was the perfect wedge. Books are easy to catalog. They have standard ISBN. There are millions of SKUs, so no physical store could possibly stock them all. That's an immediate online advantage. They don't spoil. They're relatively easy to ship. He used books to build the infrastructure of trust and logistics.
The starting point is not the destiny. I feel like that should be written on the wall of every startup office.
It's the key lesson. If Amazon had defined themselves as the world's best bookstore, they would be a very successful but ultimately earthbound company today. Maybe a bigger Barnes & Noble.
So how did they make the jump? Let's trace that path, because it wasn't random.
It wasn't random at all. It was driven by the intelligence engine. So books lead to selling CDs and DVDs. Oh, logical step, media. That leads to general e-commerce. But the big jump, the one that showed the genius of the model, was AWS.
Amazon Web Services. Selling cloud compute. This still feels like a massive leap, selling books to selling server capacity.
It seems like a leap from the outside, but it was the most logical adjacency in the world from the inside. They had built this massive world-class server infrastructure to run their own e-commerce site, which was a huge internal cost center.
A problem they had to solve for themselves.
Exactly, and their radar told them, hey, every other startup in the world has this exact same problem, but they can't afford to solve it at our scale. Boom. AWS is born. They turned their biggest expense into their most profitable product.
That is incredible. And the outline mentions Shopify as well.
Yeah.
I think their path is even clearer for a B2B listener. It's more tangible.
Oh, Shopify is a masterclass in systematic adjacency. Think about their journey step by step.
The wedge. Here is a simple tool to build an online store. Solve one specific problem.
Okay, got it.
Step 2. Their intelligence engine starts pinging. They notice their merchants are all struggling to set up credit card processing. It's a huge pain point. So what do?
They build Shopify payments.
Exactly. They solve the next adjacent problem. Now the merchants are locked in deeper.
They see merchants spending hours packing boxes and dealing with shipping labels. It's a logistical nightmare.
Shopify logistics.
Shopify logistics. They leverage their scale to get better rates. Another problem solved. And then the big one,
The bank.
Shopify Capital. They realized, wait a minute, we have perfect visibility into these businesses. We know exactly how much money these stores make every single day. We know their risk profile better than any bank ever could. So they started lending them money.
That's the end game. They went from a $10 a month website builder to a fintech platform just by watching where their users struggled.
And notice the lock-in. If you use Shopify for your site, your payments, your shipping, and your business loan, you are never, ever leaving. That is escape velocity. The gravity you exert on the customer is now stronger than the gravity the market exerts on you.
So for the listener, the question isn't, what else can I sell? That's the wrong question.
It's the wrong question. The right question is, what is the problem my customer faces immediately before or immediately after using my product? That's where the most valuable adjacency is hiding.
Now, there is a trap here, and the source talks about it, the identity trap.
Mm.
The source has this great line, the market does not care about your origin myth.
Whew. That's a tough pill for founders to swallow. We love our garage stories. We started as a humble calendar app for dentists.
Right, it's part of the lore.
It's great for a TechCrunch article, but it's poison for strategy if you believe it too much.
Because it boxes you in, it puts you in a little category.
It creates an artificial selling on your ambition and your vision. If you tell your team every day, we are a calendar company, then the brilliant engineer who has an idea for a billing system for dentists will probably keep it to herself. It doesn't fit the identity.
But the customers might be begging for it.
The customers are begging for it. You have to have a fluid identity. The source uses the phrase evolution at speed.
Evolution at speed.
I like that.
The company's identity shouldn't be the product. The identity should be the capacity to solve problems for a specific audience. That's a much more expansive and powerful identity.
This all connects back to the unicorn equation mentioned in the source. It sums this all up. Let's walk through it.
It's a formula, really. Focused entry
That's the wedge.
Yeah.
Books for Amazon.
plus aggressive marketing
The first engines. Revenue and fundraising.
plus feedback loops
The intelligence engine. The radar.
plus adjacency expansion
The second stage rocket.
equals escape velocity. And this equation explains why valuations work the way they do. The source talks about optionality. This is a key concept for anyone trying to raise money.
It's everything. Investors pay for optionality. When a VC looks at a company that has successfully jumped from wedge A to adjacency B, they don't just value those two markets. They think, wow, this team knows how to evolve. They have a system for this. Who knows what they'll do next? Healthcare, finance.
They're not just buying what the company is, they're buying what it could be.
They're paying a premium today for all the potential tomorrows. That potential is the optionality.
Whereas if you are just the best calendar app for dentists, your value is capped at the total addressable market of dentists who need calendars, and that's it.
Exactly. You are a feature, not a platform. You're a single-stage rocket. You'll get off the ground, but you'll never leave orbit.
Okay, we've covered the engines, the physics, the strategy,
Yeah.
but we need to talk about the people inside the rocket, the psychology of momentum. This feels really important.
It's often overlooked in the spreadsheets and the pitch decks, but there is a very real vibe shift when a company starts to escape gravity. It's palpable.
Success breeds success. Is it that simple?
It's more tangible than that. When revenue is predictable and the brand is growing, the internal team feels it. It's not just about the money. Confidence spikes. The belief that we're going to win becomes the default assumption. And when that confidence is real, you become a talent magnet.
Right. The best engineers, the best salespeople, They want to work on the winning team.
Nobody wants to board a sinking ship or even a stagnant one. High performers want to be on the rocket that is visibly accelerating. They can feel the G-force. So your marketing success helps you hire better engineers.
And better engineers build a better product.
And a better product makes the marketing more effective because you have a better story to tell.
It's the compounding loop again, the flywheel.
Everything in this model is a loop. It's not a linear process. And that's why the product-first mentality, that old Silicon Valley trope, is so dangerous.
Just build a great product and they will come. The field of dreams fallacy.
It's the biggest lie in tech. Bagat compares that to building a beautiful, perfectly engineered rocket fuselage and saying, we'll worry about the engines later.
It's just a shiny sculpture at that point.
It's a sculpture. You can have the cure for cancer, but if it sits on a shelf in a lab and no one knows it exists, it's worthless. Marketing provides the visibility that allows the product's value to be realized. Product without marketing is invisibility. Marketing without a product is irrelevance. But product informed by marketing? That's acceleration.
I really want to dig into that trust architecture concept mentioned in the source. We brushed past it, but I feel like it's the glue holding all of this together. Why use the word architecture? That feels very intentional.
It is intentional. Think about the friction of a sale, any sale. Why does a big B2B deal take 6 months to close? Why does a consumer hesitate on the checkout page?
Risk. They're afraid it won't work, or they'll look stupid for choosing the wrong thing, or the company will go bust in a year.
Exactly. Fear is friction. It slows everything down. Trust is the lubricant. When Fregat talks about marketing as trust architecture, he means you are intentionally designing and building a structure of touch points, stories, and proofs that makes the customer feel safe enough to move fast.
So escape velocity isn't just about how fast you move. It's about how fast you enable the customer to move toward you.
Perfectly put. It's about reducing their decision-making friction to zero. If I trust that you are the undisputed industry leader, the inevitable winner, I don't need to do 3 months of due diligence on your competitors. I just sign the contract.
That's the inevitability factor he talks about.
Yes. Companies that achieve escape velocity feel inevitable. You felt it with Google in, say, 2005. You felt it with OpenAI in 2024. It wasn't just, this is a cool product. It was, this is the future, and I need to get on board or I'll be left behind.
And that feeling of inevitability is manufactured. It's not an accident that happens to good products.
It is engineered. It is meticulously engineered through consistent storytelling, through overwhelming social proof, through that revenue engine firing on all cylinders and showing unstoppable growth. When you look inevitable, investors write bigger checks without asking as many questions. When investors write bigger checks, you hire the best people away from your competitors. The loop tightens and accelerates.
Let's pivot back to the adjacency topic for a moment, because I think there is a risk here we need to address. The source doesn't use this term, but I think of it as the petting zoo risk.
The distraction risk, chasing shiny objects.
Right. The source says you don't have to be Amazon and sell everything. But how do you know the difference between a strategic adjacency and just losing focus and building a random collection of disconnected products?
That is the hardest part of the equation, and it requires real strategic discipline. The test is leverage. A strategic adjacency leverages your existing assets. It leverages your customer base, your data, your technology stack, or your brand trust.
Okay, so Shopify moving into payments.
Leveraged their existing merchant base and their direct access to transaction volume. It was a natural fit.
But a distraction would be.
A distraction is when you try to launch something where you have no structural advantage. If Shopify had decided to launch a video game studio in 2018, that's a distraction. They have no leverage there. They're starting from scratch, just like anyone else.
So the test for the listener is, does my current gravity, my current momentum, give me an unfair advantage in winning this new market?
Exactly. Does your current orbit intersect with the new orbit in a meaningful way? If yes, it's a strategic adjacency. If no, it's a vanity project that will bleed you dry.
That brings us to the year 1 versus year 3 test. This is another one of those brutal diagnoses from the article.
It's a great gut check for founders. Look at your product and your marketing message today. Now go back in your archives and look at it from 3 years ago. If the value proposition is fundamentally identical, you have a problem.
Even if revenue is up. Even if you're growing.
Even if revenue is up. Because if the product hasn't evolved, if you haven't expanded your value proposition, it means you haven't found the second engine. You are just squeezing more juice out of the first lemon. And eventually, that lemon runs dry.
In the age of abundance, with AI everywhere, someone else is building a synthetic lemon press that works 10 times faster and is half the price.
Exactly. Stagnation is death, especially when the entire environment around you is accelerating. Standing still is the same as moving backward.
Okay, we are nearing the end of our time, and I want to get really practical. The source includes a final checklist, a diagnostic test for our listeners.
This is the gut check. If you're listening to this, you should answer these honestly for your business.
Okay, question 1. Are your marketing efforts predictable and measurable?
Or is it a black box of hope? Do you know your CAC and LTV? Can you confidently say that if you put $1 in, you know at least $2 will come out over the next 18 months? Or are you just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks?
Question 2. Does marketing inform product decisions?
Is your intelligence engine actually turned on? Is your product team in the same room as your marketing team, looking at the data, listening to the market signals? Or are you just building what you personally think is cool?
Question 3. Does revenue make fundraising easier?
When you go to investors, are you selling a trajectory or are you begging for life support? Does your revenue chart prove your thesis so compellingly that the conversation is about the size of the check, not about whether the business works?
Question 4. Does fundraising accelerate growth?
Are you using that capital as true fuel injection to go faster, to fire the second stage, to compress time, or are you just using it to keep the lights on and survive another 6 months in orbit?
And finally, question 5, the big one. Are you entering adjacent markets systematically?
Not randomly, but systematically. Do you have a process for listening, identifying, and then capturing the next logical space? Are you firing that second stage rocket? Are you actively moving from being a wedge to being a platform?
And the source's verdict is pretty stark. It says, if the answer to these questions is no, you are moving, but you are not escaping.
It's a harsh verdict, but it's a necessary one, because gravity never sleeps. It is always, always pulling on you.
That brings us to the final metaphor in the piece. Rockets must fire continuously to reach escape velocity. If they pause, gravity wins.
That's the takeaway right there. Consistency compounds. You can't market hard for 1 month and then take a break. You can't innovate for 1 year and then coast on that feature for the next 3. You have to keep the throttle pinned until you break orbit.
And once you do, what happens then?
Then the game changes. You get to orbit at a much higher altitude where the view is better and there's less traffic. Or you leave the planet entirely and set a course for a new destination. The drag disappears. You become, in your market, inevitable.
That's the goal. Inevitability.
It is.
Let's bring it home with a final thought, a provocative one for our listeners. The source dates this to 2026 for a reason.
The age of abundance.
It sounds utopian, but for a business, abundance means hyper-competition. We've said it before, but let's be clear. The barrier to create software has collapsed. Anyone with a clever prompt for an AI agent can build a clone of your core product in a weekend.
So the product itself, the code, is becoming a commodity. It's cheap. It's easy.
Which means the only sustainable differentiator left is the propulsion system. It's the brand gravity. It's the ecosystem lock-in. It's the trust you've built.
If everyone has a Ferrari, the winner isn't the person with the shiniest car. It's the one who knows how to drive the track better than anyone else. It's the one who has built the team, the trust, the intelligence network.
And here's the closing thought from the piece that really hit me. If technology and AI are accelerating the world, gravity is actually getting stronger for those who stand still. The speed required to escape is increasing every single year.
That's a huge point. If you are moving at the same speed you were in 2020, you are actually falling backward relative to the market. You need more thrust just to maintain your current orbit.
So if you are a founder or a leader out there listening and thinking, I'll hire a marketing person once we hit Series A, you are already dead in the water.
You are building a beautiful rocket with no engines, and it's never going to leave the launch pad.
That is a terrifying but necessary wake-up call. Marketing isn't a department. It's not an expense line. It's the physics of survival.
It's strategic infrastructure. It's the most important thing you can build.
Before we sign off, what is the one thing you want our listener to do differently tomorrow morning after hearing this?
I want them to have a meeting. And in that meeting, I want them to look at their marketing not as a way to get the word out, but as a way to get the word in.
Get the word in.
Yeah. Turn on the radar. Stop broadcasting for 1 day and just listen. Look at the support tickets. Look at the search terms on your website. Look at the weirdos signing up for your product who don't fit the persona. That's where the escape velocity is hiding. It's not in the shouting. It's in the listening.
Powerful stuff. Marketing is propulsion. Don't just paint a rocket, build the engine.
And keep the throttle pinned.
This was a deep dive into Paramendra Bhagat's Marketing is escape velocity.
A must-read. We'll have the link in the show notes. Thanks for diving in with us.
Right pleasure. See you in the next orbit.
Keep building your trajectory.